Oh my gosh. Thanks for walking me through that, Matt. I would have been so mad. So mad.
It's like, yeah, it's like, wait, so it's not connecting to something there. Look.
I'm actually going to swap up our news a little bit. We'll start by talking about the big one, Marvel Heroes. Then we'll go to City of Titans. Then we'll go to NCSoft. And then we'll finish up with a positive note on WoW. So,
Okay. Like, WoW needs any more positive news.
alright. So it looks like we're ready to go here.
All right.
I'm going to start up our introduction.
Get out my life, woman. You don't love me no more. Get out my life, woman. You don't love me no more. Get out my life, woman. You don't love me no more.
Just typing a quick hello to Vixie. Hi,
Mm.
Vixie. Alright, let's close this out here. And welcome. We're here in Elder Scrolls Online for Lounge Leets Live. I believe we're in Volkel Hard, or Guard Hall. Let's see here. Yep. We are Assaulted Wings Tavern. That's what it was called. So it's one of
Yeah.
the main cities that I go to a lot for like thieving and also resource gathering for crafting and stuff like that. So we got a little bit of MMO news, but first let me introduce my cohort in crime here, Mad Matt Winchill.
Mad Matt Sticky Fingers Winchell at this point in this game. There's not a box I have not opened and looted. I swear.
Vixie's.
Unless it has reagents that I don't need for blacksmithing, in which case I'll leave them behind. And I don't care if I get caught doing it. I'll do it anyways.
Vixie's like, kill the minstrel. No, never. Alright, let me.
Vixie always hates minstrels.
I'm sending out my tweet here now that we've got ourselves established a little bit. Alright, cool. Alright, so let's get going on the big news today. Usually, as always with Lounge Leets, we'll go into MMO news, and then we'll start talking about Elder Scrolls Online itself and our experiences with that, the ups and the downs and everything. So, let's get going on to Google and bring up a first tab. Of course, the big news. Matt, did you want to take it away here? Marvel Heroes is officially dead.
Oh, yes. So Marvel Heroes was a Diablo-styled MMO that focused on the Marvel Universe. It started off really rough, and a lot of people didn't care much for it at the time, but as they retooled it further and further, people began to be drawn in, and even people like Toll Biscuit re-reviewed it and went, "This game's now amazing. Thank you so much for fixing it. We're all going to join in and enjoy this game because it's so fun to play." And usually by the time you get to the end game with one particular Marvel character, you got enough extra um, special paid points essentially in the game that you can usually unlock another character and do it again. And so you can literally just keep playing these your favorite characters and unlocking them as you progress through the game. And of course, this means that you repeat the same story over and over, but it's like a giant like 6-part story essentially. Again, like Diablo. However, shortly after I left the game, I want to say a year or so after I left the game, they suddenly did a huge, massive update to the skill trees and everything, and completely screwed up the game.
Yeah, it was
Fans just fans just dropped off of this thing like a lead balloon.
in January. They did an overhaul of all 59 heroes, according to my resource to your PC gamer.
Yeah, essentially they had this set up so that you could get with the skill points you easily had just from leveling, you could get the powers that you wanted and use the most. You could add in extra points to other things that would give it a boost, but you could just also focus on the main skill on its own, but you could still do other things that give it essentially little stat boosts for like speed or damage or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
also, when you reached end game, they had the special Omega powers,
Mm-hmm.
which you could say gives a bonus to all your characters. By the way, you could give them a bonus like say extra like supernatural damage, or you could have it that you have a 20% chance of critting someone, and suddenly Iron Man will pop in and as a guest for like 5 seconds, and also help blast them too. Like really cool stuff like that. And then they completely ripped all the Omega powers out.
Oh wow, that was
And
with
then
the
they
overhaul.
completely hammered and reworked the skill tree so it wasn't nearly as good anymore.
Okay, yeah, because they in PC Gamer here it mentions that they put in a new difficulty slider and endgame progression system as well as various other tweaks. So,
And most of which were really, really shit. Also, they added loot boxes.
oh
Shoot me
yes, of
now!
course.
Because
It's
last thing I wanted is to try and loot box my heroes, you assholes.
mm-hmm. I fell into that trap
It was bad
recently
enough
and
they had you can throw out for like a couple hundred less of the item you needed to unlock heroes, you could already like randomly get a hero. At least you're randomly actually getting a hero of a loot box, who knows?
hmm.
Um so yeah, that pretty much sank it, and apparently from what I've been hearing, not saying this is gospel truth, but apparently due to the CEOs meddling too, is the reason why Disney suddenly cracked down on the company and said, "Yeah, no more."
And
And
actually I
then
have
the
a website for
CEOs,
that too.
and then the
I have the one angry gamer website here is talking about Marvel Heroes shutting down and amid brewing sexual misconduct allegations specifically against CEO Dave Dorman, I believe, because he was
hmm
the interim CEO after let me see who left here.
after the CEO that
David
left.
Brevik
hmm
left in January 6, 2016, citing he was pursuing other opportunities. CEO Dave Dorman took over as president of Gazillion Entertainment. That was and this
So
information
when
is
we
off
thought
of
that CEO
Wiki.
left, it was actually a previous CEO that had left like a while ago already. So
Mm-hmm,
okay.
yeah.
So
It.
no, the CEO was still on, and a lot of the people involved in the company knew what the
Mm-hmm.
CEO had apparently done, but couldn't do anything about it because they'd be out of a job.
Yeah,
And
basically,
that's the kind of hold stranglehold he had on these poor people. And then when he realized everyone was back talking him to Disney, and Disney was shutting them down, he just said fuck it and pulled the plug, which is why Marvel Heroes is dying before the end of December.
yeah, Jeff Doomsaw Donis wrote a Reddit post basically about how the problem at such tech companies is that that while industry insiders quote unquote are aware of what's going on, it's because it's tolerated because he often controls the money flow and is a good talker, and that's in my experience with people like that. That's pretty much almost always what happens. They usually talk themselves out of sticky situations, and yeah, they wind up getting away with a lot of stuff, and it usually takes multiple allegations in order to even make a dent in their reputation or to make their bosses listen. So,
Yeah, that's
and
just really scummy shit, and
yeah,
I feel so sorry for the people that have to suffer whenever the few bad eggs that do that.
mhm,
God, it's just got to feel horrible for everybody under them. But at
yeah,
least they're getting out early, but at the same time they're also getting screwed because they don't get like an extra couple of weeks to
yeah.
find a
They
new
don't get
job.
severance paid. They get nothing.
Yeah,
Usually,
they get nothing, literally nothing. The CEOs just unplugged everything.
yep, they don't get severance paid. They don't get, if they have vacation time, usually companies will pay out what's left of your vacation time. They don't even get that. They get nothing. So, I mean, and that's really kind of crappy for them, but at the same time, it's also kind of itself a punishment for kind of being quiet about stuff like this and not doing anything.
True.
You know, maybe
I guess a
it's.
little bit. Yeah, they should have spoken up much sooner, but if
Mm-hmm.
they did, they would have been out of a job. It's a very yin yang
It's a
thing.
very catch-22 situation though too. I
Hmm.
mean, they're screwed if they do, and they're screwed if they don't. And
Yeah.
either way, they don't get paid. So and if they keep their mouths shut, that's at least something of a guarantee of keeping your
Getting that
house,
paycheck next
keeping
week.
your apartment. Yeah, being
Hmm.
able to or not having to live off of ramen for like a year or whatever. So.
At best. But also, on the same point, since all these people got kicked out at the same time, if they're lucky and smart, they could try to regroup themselves again and maybe do something. But who knows at this
Yeah.
point?
Mhm. And I think the whole thing with shunning people who work for companies where stuff like this happens at, I think the idea of shunning yeah, Vixie's like loot boxes with a crying face. Shunning
Freaking
people,
loot box.
yeah, shunning people like that isn't really a thing anymore because it's starting to come out that people reasons why people don't speak out mostly because they're afraid of losing their income.
Yeah,
And
and that's a very human thing that anyone can understand is that
yeah,
as much as they want to say something, you can't always say it when you want to.
it's definitely the most honorable thing that you can do, but
The most honorable thing to do is to speak up, yes, but at the same time,
if you
that's half the
especially if
issue.
you've got kids, if you've got a family relying on
Yeah.
you, then it makes it a bit harder. It makes it more of a gray area, and unfortunately,
It's a
it
lot of trouble
allows
for
stuff to
everyone.
perpetuate, and it makes things just difficult for everyone.
Hmm.
So that's really a shame because I kind of always wanted to try Marvel Heroes, and then I believe Ojunix and Ozzy Arcane were actually on a live stream talking about the changes. Or no, they weren't on the live stream; they were off of the live stream, but they were telling us all about these changes that had come through and why they stopped playing the game.
Yeah, and matter of fact, Ozzy has also made his own video about the goings on with this game as well, and essentially venting his frustrations, and also noting the fact that he's been a fan of MMOs since like the mid '90s, mid
Mm-hmm.
to late '90s, and he started with EverQuest, and now he can't tell you a single decent MMO he'd even care to give the time to anymore at this point.
Hmm.
I would say if he wants anything as good as Sea of Heroes, he can go to Lotro anytime. Ozzy, call us.
Alright, so we've taken care of the Marvel Heroes news. Kind of
Hmm.
sad, but maybe it's for the best, so.
Especially
So
with it
next
going
up,
south.
we've got City of Titans, another superhero line, hopefully taking over for, after the shutdown of City of Heroes. It's one of the legacy games that has attached its lore to the City of Heroes universe, because
Pseudo, so yeah.
yeah, they've actually been allowed to do that now. That's the
They've
reason
been
why.
officially allowed the lore, I believe, but they can't like copy anything directly.
Yeah, they can reference it and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Valiance is probably the only other superhero MMO other than in development that has decided not to follow suit, even though they started as kind of a legacy game too after the shutdown of City
Originally,
of
but
Heroes. Yeah.
they decided, well, this is taking too damn long. We'll just work on it on our own. Screw it.
I've also looked at Ship of Heroes, which seems very gimmicky. They do have
Okay.
alpha play though. Ship of Heroes, that's that one that everyone thought was a scam. Here, I can
That's
bring.
already not a good idea.
Here, let me see if I can bring up the games. City of Heroes Legacy game, Ship of Heroes. It looks like it's a bit more legit.
Ship
But there's,
of
I don't know if you're looking at
Heroes.
the stream right now.
No, not. I'm looking it up on my own here.
Yeah,
Ship of
Ship
Heroes,
of
Heroes in
Heroes. Yeah,
Space.
yeah, Heroes in Space. Basically, you're a superhero on a spaceship with like a digital city that you're living in. As you can see out the window here, there's like space and everything, but
Ah,
there's clouds above you.
yeah.
And via this, you travel to different planets and stuff like that. And
Wow, that character creation looks a lot like COH, just
oh
a little
yeah,
more clunky looking. Someone's borrowing heavily.
oh yeah,
It,
someone's
it looks a little cartoony yet, but then again, this is early rough graphics, so I'm not surprised. It looks a little
yeah.
clunky right now, but a lot of those switches and nozzles look very familiar.
Yeah, and they look. Oh, I don't know if this is actual. If this is how the game is actually going to look after the graphics are polished, but this looks like it could eventually become a cell shaded. I'm looking at archetypes, that tab.
The archetypes thing, no, that looks like it's just art.
Yeah, it looks like it's probably just development art.
It's
So.
either just art or a very early concept.
So the sunset looks kind of interesting, but yeah, I'm wondering how big that world is going to be. You know,
We'll have
they
to
could
wait and
always do
see.
the subway system that City of Heroes did. But yeah, that's Ship of
Mhm.
Heroes, and then I'll go through and I'll show you, since I actually have all of these kind of bookmarked. We've got, of course, City of Titans, which we'll be talking about here shortly.
By the way, Aaron, don't forget to peek in on ESO every once in a while because it'll likes to kick people that are gone for too long.
Yeah,
Just a side note.
I see someone calling someone else a pig in chat. Do I have to actually get up and sit down?
No, you just like move around the camera, make sure that the game knows that you're alive.
I'm alive! Don't kick me, please!
It's
Alright.
just that I think it's partially making sure that you're not just sitting idly completely, and also I think it's also partially that there might be a bit of a lag when you tab back in.
Oh my
That
god,
might
this
kick you.
poor kitten. Happy Halloween. I mean, it looks like its neck, it looks like its head is basically melded with its body. It looks like a lump of a kitten. Kitty lump! So that's City of Titans, and it's coming along nicely. This for a long time was the successor for a lot of people. They lost a bunch of their staffers, and but they went back to the drawing board at least a couple of times. But there we go. But yeah, it's still kind of the shoe-in. And then this is the first one that I saw was Heroes and Villains. So you
See,
enter
I
this.
saw the stuff for heroes and villains, and I was not thrilled by what they were showing me. But then again, I understand it's also early concepts, so it could have changed.
Characters and groups, media. Let me see if I can find you some pictures. This is what some of them look like.
You said it was heroes and villains, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Oh god, like really uncanny valley looking. I'm not sure. I think development servers are up. Development
Yeah,
server
they
anyway.
still haven't changed their art, and it's really kind of.
Yeah. I mean, it looks very realistic, but at the same time, I'm not sure.
It looks maybe a little too realistic in some portions.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the bulge too.
These are like
avoid
still
the
images
bulge.
that have nothing to do with what's going to actually be in engine, so it's
Yeah.
hard to tell.
How is it going to be animated? Is it going to look decent? See, this one, the Condor lady, doesn't even look like it's finished. It looks very smooth, whereas everyone else has very rough, kind of pockmarked skin and stuff. And the feathers on that look kind of fake too. They don't look very realistic compared to like some of the facial structures and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell, and I haven't really seen any real development news out of them either. So
Let me see here if I can find development news and updates. Oh, it's December 9th, 2017, so
Oh.
they posted today. Vixie says he refuses to wear a superhero suit without nipples. We'll see here, we'll see. These,
if you want rubber
heroes,
nipples, we'll give you
these-
rubber nipples.
Heroes and villains, their models look a little bit more anatomically correct, let's just say.
You have found Vixie's secret identity. He is actually Joel Schumacher in disguise.
Yeah, so it looks like in
We
the
found
previous,
you, Joe Schumacher. Confess.
they had a couple of previous updates from December 1st, actually. They posted twice in one day with information. Art update and the regular Friday update. And then, yeah, it looks like they post at least twice a month about what's going on and what's changing and everything. So that's Heroes and Villains, and this is supposed to be a little bit smaller. Heroes and Villains is supposed to take place on, like, a small...
Like a very small island.
Vixie... Vixie was like, says hi, Ran. First he couldn't hear you. Alright, so yeah, this is supposed to be smaller, kind of just one, like, a couple of city blocks, or not city blocks, but, like, just kind of self-contained in a city, whereas, you know, City of Heroes felt a little bit more expansive and stuff, maybe just a single district. It sounds almost like they want to make it more PvP than anything, too, because that's kind of what you would do with a PvP server, or with a PvP, open PvP game. So, and then we've got Valiant's Online.
And
Which is
Valiance is
this
the one
one
I've
right
been
here.
watching. I've actually tested out their beta. It wasn't too bad, but it was the beta I was part of was really hard to fight enemies.
Yeah,
I believe they've retooled things since then, so
I've
I'd have
only
to give it another
tested-
peek.
I've only tested their alpha.
Yeah, are they even in beta yet? I don't think they are. I'm pretty sure they're still in alpha. It's been early alphas mostly so far.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a whole lot of costume options. There's not a whole lot of villains or anything yet. They're just really starting to feel it out and pulling stuff together. I'm also pretty sure they're still trying to tweak the engine so the engine runs smoothly.
Yeah. Roleplay.
Which is something that someone else could learn, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I should probably... There we go. I'm not dead! Don't kick me out of the game! I fought hard for this seat. There we go.
We beat out every
So-
other player character in the tavern.
Now you've seen all of these, so let's get back to City of Titans quick before we use all of our time to talk about news and none of it to talk about ESO. So City of Titans is doing more detailed mission lines and stuff like that, or three different types.
They're adding more detail to how they're doing things, and also adding different types of mission quests. Yeah.
Yeah, it's let me see here. There's gonna be 3 different types. Lore is going to be incorporated even into the most basic type, the area-related district stories and tips and stuff like that. Or no, the tips are the most basic ones. They're self-contained stories, quote-unquote, episodes. Then you've got the longer stuff that relates to the district, and that would be the series that you're working in. And then the overarching plot that goes across all districts and everything and affects basically everything is what would be called a saga/path. So 3 different types of missions depending on how complicated, you know, and how overarching everything is. So yeah. So there's quite a bit going on with a lot of these hero MMORPGs. So hopefully, I'm not sure when we'll see them next. Speaking of
Hopefully in the next
Someone
couple
trying-
years, at least get something beta.
someone trying to cash in on superhero MMORPGs,
Oh yeah.
NCSoft is already sunsetting MOBA, Master X Master. This is, of course, coming from Massively Overpowered. And that is, yeah, basically just what it said. The big thing is that this MOBA used the character of Statesman and was it Black Widow? Or Ghost Widow.
Ghost Widow, I think.
Yeah, Ghost Widow. They used both of those characters from City of Heroes
City
to
Heroes
try
and
to draw...
City of Villains in particular.
City of Heroes and City of Villains, and basically trying to draw City of Heroes fans back as a player base and try to mend bridges, and wound up looking like
Wound
a
up burning the bridge completely and making everyone curse the name NCSoft.
Yeah, because the City of Heroes characters saw this as kind of a sacrilege.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
felt that,
Here, as a devoted City Heroes player, let me just say that none of the NC Soft games connected with anybody as deeply as City Heroes did because City Heroes actually had characters. They actually
Mm-hmm.
had stories. They actually had long-lasting effects throughout the entirety of everything, and even some of these NPCs look to you as somebody. Excuse me. These characters even look to you as someone that's probably around their level of power and experience.
Mm-hmm.
Any NC Soft game since then has just been you just get rushed around everywhere. You don't get any connection to anybody. Fuck them. Just keep moving along. Come on, newbie. You want to get to the end game, don't you? Just keep shoveling that freaking coal. No real characters. No real attachment to anybody except for maybe a villain. And if you're doing that, you might as well just make a game full of nothing but villains. So this was them trying to go, hey, let's throw in the actual only iconic characters we ever had. And the fans just went, fuck you.
Hmm.
So yeah, this was a doomed idea from the start, and the fact that they only pissed off people with it more than they actually
Mm-hmm.
gained people is
It's
an obvious sign that you were doing something wrong.
it's so ironic that it happened too. I mean, they genuinely thought that they were going to get people back with this, and it wound up making them more
Fuck
angry
no.
instead.
Hey, NCSoft, you want people back? Bring back City of Heroes, you dumbasses.
Yeah, that's probably the best thing that you can do at this point, and even then, it's been gone for so long. Well, I'm sure they're.
No, it doesn't matter how long it's gone, Aaron. There was so many devoted fans that
Uh
if
huh.
it came back, they'd come back. If
Some
you make it,
people.
they will come NCSoft. But you won't ever make it because you're always about greed and stupidity before you are about actually making things people want and like.
Yeah.
Toodaloo.
And then there are people I've seen would comment that if NCSoft did bring it back, they still wouldn't jump on because they couldn't trust the
They
company.
couldn't trust them, yeah. Because they'd do another stupid and find another way to eliminate it again.
Yeah, they'd shut it down. Even with making stuff like City of Heroes 2, do you really want them to make it? Because it's just going to be a Korean grind fest.
Yeah, they're going to ruin what was there and make it into another really boring, padded game that doesn't do anything with no character development and no sense of style
Hmm.
or taste for wonder.
Hmm.
Just no, all of the no. Screw
All
you,
of the rage,
NCSoft.
NCSoft. All of the rage. So
All
let
of
me
the
pop back
annoyance and
into.
face
Don't boot
shaking.
me! Don't boot me, you bastards!
Don't
Alright.
kill me. I'm not dead. I'm getting better.
We're not dead yet, dang it! Alright,
I
on to
enjoyed
our
my
last
campfire.
bit of news. Before we move on to what we thought of our recent experiences in The Elder Scrolls Online. And that's the fact that the public test realm for World of Warcraft is experimenting with. Oh, God damn it. What is it called? I'm trying to look for it. Screw it. I'll go to my notes. Oh yeah, I should have probably also mentioned Demon Souls. Their servers have shut down after 9 years too. So,
Oh, Demon Souls as in the PlayStation 3 game?
yeah. Mhm.
Not surprised that was going to happen eventually. They were postponed once, and they did get a bigger boost in players at that point. But yeah, at this point, it's been over 10 years thereabouts. It's probably about time they close those servers.
Yeah.
You can still play the game just fine, just that the servers you won't get any online on the ground hints anymore for that game, so you'd have to bare bones it on your own.
So, yeah, what I was saying about World of Warcraft is that they've introduced on the test server scaling content. So now, the recent jokes have been now you can actually sit in the starter area and kill boars until you're max level.
Yay!
So I wonder if it's going to be like Guild Wars 2, where if you enter like one of the lower level zones, that your gear will still wipe out anything, but everything attacks you still. Everything is still hostile and still
Oh,
will
you
give
mean
you
that kind of
experience.
scaling?
Yeah,
Okay.
that kind of experience. So
So in other
You
words,
know?
your stats will be like ganked down to whatever the level area is, but your equipment will still be badass as shit, and you can still wreck things.
Mm-hmm. Because that's what
Yeah,
Guild Wars 2 at least felt like to me. I would enter in one of the earlier zones
that's
as.
essentially what Guild Wars 2 was doing for the most part. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's interesting. Hmm.
interesting idea. I'm not sure that it's needed,
Hopefully, it
but
also kind of
okay.
eliminates some of the irrelevant plot elements or introduces those along a time scale. You know, but maybe they'll wait and maybe they'll
If
do
it's
that on
level
the.
scaling, that's one thing. If it's actually fixing things so they actually mesh with the plot, that's a totally different thing. That's like
Yeah.
a complete revamping of the game to actually update properly like it should have years ago.
Hmm.
And that's my number one screech at Blizzard is that they never updated anything properly after they made it.
Yeah, it's going to be an extensive change to how
It's the
loot.
War Chief. Why is the War Chief an orc? The orc we that the last War Chief that was an orc was 4 War Chiefs ago, you assholes.
It's going to be an extensive change to how loot, quests, and creatures work in the open world. So
So yeah,
looks
it's
like they're putting
essentially
in all
it's a
new AI too.
it's a area level system essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. So okay, that sounds kind of interesting. And of course, we should probably also mention that Blizzard is working on a legacy server for WoW. I don't have
Whether or
any
not that's going to
information on
happen,
that.
whether or not they're going to actually release it, that's a whole nother beast, sadly. But they're
Mm-hmm.
at least teasing the idea. Oh,
Yeah.
also speaking of Blizzard, though, really quick, and technically it's an online-only game, anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Hearthstone has just released the Kobolds and Catacombs
Mm-hmm. Yep.
add-on. Essentially, it's a dungeon crawling mission, and I've actually gotten to test it now.
Cool.
And essentially what happens is that you pick the Kobolds and Catacombs, and it also comes with its own deck, so you can collect cards just for that deck, but you can also still use those cards in your regular card battles.
Huh. Sweet.
And what happens is that one at a time, it'll pick a hero, start at low-level heroes, and gradually upgrading as you go along. And you gotta fight these heroes with whatever little bit of a deck you got,
Mm-hmm.
because it'll limit your deck to, like, say, a good 5 or 10 cards or so at the very beginning. And you also not only get to get add-ons for your deck every time you win, but every other battle you get also a special item that gives your character enhancements. Like the first thing I picked was one that gave my hero's special ability a half-price mana cost, so it cost only 1 mana instead of 2 to fire a firebolt at the enemy. So it's little stuff like that. That's actually a really good idea. I like this. This is actually possibly going to get me to play a little bit more.
I never started.
Whereas trying to play the ranked game is still horseshit.
Really? I've never. I think I've started up Hearthstone, but I never really got around to actually playing it.
I played rank while I was waiting for Kobolds and Catacombs to come out.
Mm-hmm.
10 battles, I only won 1, maybe 2.
Jeez.
And they actually added a new system where they're actually trying to limit the amount of cards you have for certain different ranking fights too. So there's still paid players with huge hands that will just wipe the floor of everybody and you can't do anything about it.
Jeez.
So whatever. Getting away from ranked is actually where I've been actually getting a few wins now and again. So I guess I'll just keep collecting. Fuck you guys and your ranked bullshit. I can't get anywhere with it. But that's it. That's all the Blizzard news.
Okay. All right.
And an improvement to a card game that needs it.
All right. So we've got some information here. Of course, we're sitting here in Elder Scrolls Online. If you've been watching our live streams, usually Monday night live streams, that might be changing here. All right, so
Yeah, we'll be switching that out. I assume you've been dabbling in ideas.
yeah, probably moving it back to Tuesdays. But if we, have a movie that we go to on Tuesday night, then we'll just move the live stream to or do something else on like a Monday or something where,
We can always just
like a
stream for like only an
one-shot or
hour or something.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to push it too hard. You can just do a 1 hour stream at worst. But anyway.
Yep, so here's some information on Elder Scrolls Online if you can hear me over the freaking bard. It released in 2014 with a very restrictive zoning by faction and a subscription. In fact, one of the things that got me to stop playing it before I had even really started to on the official release, I'd played a little bit in the open betas that were going on opposite weekends, or semi-open betas. What you had to do is you had to pay before you could even log in and play on the free month that you get with the purchase of the game, the first month. You had to pay for a second month before you could even log in and play your first month.
Yeah, that was a bad idea. I don't know where they got
I was so
that
mad
thought.
at that. I played for like one day and then I stopped playing at all. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, they've got so much money out of me nowadays because I bought the collector's edition too, and it was just bad, you know. And you couldn't. You had to be very careful about what class, what race you picked. Everything felt very gated, like you couldn't really, and very closed in, like you couldn't really wander around. It didn't feel like an open world. It felt like a very heavily instanced, phase-locked world, I guess. And then apparently they got the hint because they re-released it and rebranded it as Tamriel Unlimited, which got rid of all of that and improved exploration and mobility. It opened up the world. A lot of people could use whatever factions and races they wanted, I believe.
So here,
It was buy to
I'll add
play,
on to this really
basically.
quick because I have a little bit of experience with this now, Aaron.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, the main story, you're still stuck in the main area wherever you started from for your character and race, due to your race mostly. But you still had waypoints you could still visit to the other main areas where you could go visit your friends and help them out if they were like having like a dungeon that they wanted to delve and they needed help or something like that. You could still easily teleport over there, hop on a horse and race off after them and go and help them with a dungeon. So they allowed you to actually move into other areas, but the main quest didn't move with you. You still had, if you started in like the Morrowind area, you still had to go back to the Morrowind area in order to actually continue the main story with the Prophet. But all the other side stuff you could do whenever you wanted.
Yeah. Alright, some more information on this is that it took 7 years to develop, and there's no definitive information on how much it costs to make. But
because they just kept throwing in their extra Skyrim money after the Skyrim hit, and every release of Skyrim afterwards.
Well, no, what happened is ZeniMax got $300 million to spend on various things.
And so some of that could have been to this, some of this could have been to other things.
Yeah, so there's no definitive how much that was carved up. Some Kotaku has speculated that it was budgeted for $200 million. And nowadays the subscription and active player base, it's 2.5 million monthly active players, and 10 million players since release have played it, so. Yeah.
So there's at least 2 million people that are going to swap us with hate for any critiques we have. Hi guys! Hold your horses, you will be there.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just wait for it anyway.
Yep.
Alright, so right now I am on the new Warden class. We've been playing in the Morrowind expansion in Vardenfell, and I made a Khajiit Warden. Basically just a pet class. You call up a pet, like I can, here. I guess I have to stand in order to call up my pet.
Yeah, you probably have to stand.
Maybe my pet won't summon. There we go. I was hitting F and I meant to hit R. Hi, Berry Bear. Should probably take it. It's actually the little ash bear. This is the specialty one because I got the collector's edition of the Morrowind expansion. It's kind of intimidating looking, but it's basically Ashlander, not quite polar bear type deal. And let me see here, special. And this is the default bear, it's just kind of a grizzly bear type deal. Is what it looks like here. Yeah. But I usually have it on this. So, and then yeah, you've got a little bit That's the journal. Okay. I need to remember how to bring up my skills. I've been focusing on mostly like animal companions and stuff. And I do enjoy the combat system. I found it fairly easy to use. It's obviously the reticle combat, and then you can shift to dodge, I believe.
You can
No,
shift or double
tap,
click to
double tap.
dodge. Double tap. Yeah. Shift to run. But yeah, it's double tap to dodge and weave. Oops.
Wrong
Gotta
way.
get on the right side of it.
I gotta be on the right side, I guess. And that's my little crab running around. My little social pet.
And this is the dress I got for this character recently. They gave us some extra. If you did certain things during the Thanksgiving weekend, they gave you 3 loot crates, and I think I got 2. No, I got all 3, and this is one of the items that dropped from it, is the dress I have on right now. So at least 1 out of every 3 chests, it seems, has at least some sort of costume piece for you if you want to use it. Whether it's a face tattoo or an actual full-on outfit.
Yeah, we got these blue tattoos came from completing the mission line for Vardenfell, the main one, where you're supposed to help Lord
The main
Vivek,
Vardenfell story, yeah.
who's his power is waning, and it's up to you to try to stop it and try to get the power back before Vardenfell is
dies,
destroyed. Yeah,
and the Vardenfell is destroyed by the floating rock and everything else, yeah.
I do have to say, it's very easy to make your character look fairly unique in this game. There's all kinds of stuff that you can do.
Everything from tweaking your armor to the different types of armor you can make, the
can
different
dye
clothing
your
options you
armor
can
and stuff.
decide. You can apparently, yeah, there's dyeing, but I never got into that. There's also, again, the costuming. There's the way you can shape your character's physical appearance is really nicely in depth, which I hadn't seen since at least COH. That kind of level of it, which I'm very happy to see in a game like this.
Yeah, I love the character creation was pretty fun for me, and then also the crafting was halfway decent. I had it takes a little bit of time to sit
went
down and figure it.
overboard crazy in the crafting. Meanwhile, I was just trying to do like a straight up, what do I really need?
Yeah,
and I was
actually,
perfectly fine with that.
I actually subbed for a brief time in order to unlock the
Get
crafting
an extra bag.
here.
Yeah.
In order to unlock the crafting bag, now that I'm unsubbed, I can take these out of here, but I can't put them back in.
They at least sit there though, so it's not like it's gonna instantly clutter you.
Yeah, and it's, I got to the point where I was starting to get the crafting surveys, which take you out into the world, and you find these special nodes that, it's a cluster of nodes that will give you like 10 times the amount of raw crafting materials, like wood or rawhide, or, I found a bunch of, I found one for Enchanter, which gave me all kinds of rune stones and stuff. It was pretty cool. So, yeah, it's a little bit tricky at first, but once you get used to it, you can have a lot of fun with the crafting, and just running around in the open world, not doing any quests, just doing your basic exploring, unlocking, the waypoints, or the way shrines that allow you to teleport from area to area. That was actually a lot of fun for me. I didn't even have to do all that much.
Yeah, the traveling was actually interesting to do, because then you'd actually bump into a few things. Although you didn't want to travel too far, because otherwise you'd bump into quests that you didn't want to do yet.
Yeah, a lot of these
And
little
it was
side
annoying
roads.
to have these little NPCs constantly chasing after you, saying the same like 3 or 4 lines.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
shut up, go away.
A lot of these little side roads, you could run into like all kinds of different enemies. You could run into dungeons and stuff. It was pretty cool.
There's never a lack of anything to do. Let's just put it that way.
There's plenty of stuff to do. There's like the housing was always kind of interesting. It's very
The housing is very free and open because you can literally buy up houses everywhere. Actually, I thought you'd only be limited to like one, but it's essentially even the NPCs expect you to be collecting houses. Like you collect freaking ores for crafting.
Yeah, I mean, and they can be kind of pricey, especially with how much gold. Some of them are like 1.5 million gold, but if you spend, you can also spend about $100 in real money just buying enough crown points, which are these.
To get a house, yeah.
Crown gems in order.
But at the same time, if you're running in the right places,
Or
you'll actually bump
crowns.
into a few quests that'll actually give you a free apartment.
There's furniture you can buy for your houses, because even if you buy your house furnished,
My apartment has a bed and a little dingo in it. He's adorable.
even if you buy a furnished house, you can always furnish it further. You can always put more stuff in it. There
As
is
long
a
as the
limit,
room allows
though.
it.
I believe there is a limit.
There is a limit per room, usually.
So, but still, it's pretty cool. And you can get quite a few. You can get like little stuff like knickknacks and whatnot. Let me see here. Yeah. All of these houses here. Staple, classic, notable.
That's
These
right,
are
you
the
also get
fancy
themes and
homes.
stuff.
The observatory I was most disappointed in, because you go into it and it's really one room, and then you have a giant patio with all these gears and stuff floating over you, and that's it. That's all you get. And it's like about $100 for that. I think,
Arg.
anyway. Yeah, let me go back and see that. Boop. Come on, observatory. Nah, it won't tell me without actually going there. But yeah, I think it was one of the more expensive ones because it's in premium housing. Notable houses, I should say. And a lot of them are actually available in-game, too. Like, there's an actual story behind these houses. Like, the family that lived in this house died from plague. Or this person went off to fight in the war and never came back. So his house is now for sale.
Or my apartment was apparently supposed to be safe for someone else, but because they were really messy Daedra worshippers, they got kicked out. And then trying to make amends to the locals and trying to get a better image, they decided to hand it out to a hero, and ta-da! Here I am, ass whooper.
I got a free apartment from this orcriss, this female orc, who owed money to the landlord. And the landlord basically hunts you down in Vivek City. Is like, hey, this person owes me money. Can you go find her comrade? You talk to her comrade, and he's like, oh yes, she's off in this delve somewhere, you know, and everything. And you go find her, and you have the choice of either killing her or letting her go. And either way, if you let her go, you get like some kind of knife or something like that. You get like a cheese cutter knife, but it's like actually an assassin's knife or something that she leaves you. It's kind of interesting, but it's only just a housing item. You don't actually use it. Vixie's like, can we feed the minstrel to the dingo? Maybe a dingo ate your minstrel.
And then they fed Sir Robin's minstrels to the dingo.
Oddly enough, I have a coworker who's traveling to Australia starting tomorrow. His sister gave him a surprise Christmas present, which means he now has to take off for a month and not have any income for a month.
Look out for drop bears.
Yeah, and go down south or go down to Australia and visit his relatives down there.
Look out for drop bears, dingoes,
It's kind of a white
spiders bigger than your hand,
yeah.
poisonous snakes, and oh, by the way, kangaroos are cute, but they're assholes.
So are koalas. They'll actually
Like I said,
attack
drop
you.
bears.
Oh yeah.
Drop bears, that's what they call them.
Yeah.
Koalas, when they're not in the zoo, are really nasty, gnarly-looking critters, and they're also full of diseases. Anyway.
Yeah. So that was kind of a white elephant gift. Anyway, Matt, you've had quite a bit of more experience with your solo playthrough.
Oh.
How would you like to tell us all about that, including the Thieves Guild and Dark Brotherhood storylines
Dark Brotherhood and the
everything?
Thieves Guilds, what little I've experienced of them, and what I experienced playing the main story. So, the main story, let me put it to you this way. You know how we lasted like about between 15 and 20 episodes on every Monday?
Uh-huh.
Doing it solo for the main story, I managed to get through it in about 40 or 50 episodes.
Oh wow.
So twice as big already right there. Essentially you start off, and this is what is supposed to be the precursor to everything that explain why you're kind of this unkillable hero person, is that at the very beginning you're supposed to be dragged off on a ship, pulled into a trap where you then get sacrificed and sent off to a particular pocket of oblivion. Everyone, ever since Morrowind Oblivion, ever since Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, everyone likes to think that Oblivion is literally just this one looking place and it's this nasty hellscape. Literally every single Daedra deity has a different looking place in Oblivion. Oblivion is like, say, this just giant landscape that's supposed to be like the next dimension beyond, and in many cases, kind of could represent both heaven and hell in one plane. And the Daedric princes run this, and they have their own little individual pockets where they control everything. You're sent to this particular place where you become a soul-shriven, which means that you technically are a living body without a soul anymore. And depending upon who you are and what you were sent there for and why you were sent there, you could go completely mad. But you're one of the few soul-shriven that are actually still sensible and still remembers and retains most of their memories as a living person. You're set free by a gigantic Nord woman, and she sends you to go save a prophet. The prophet, by the way, and I'm going to get into spoilers here, so Aaron and anyone else listening, if you don't want to hear these spoilers, better start plugging your ears. So, you get back to one point or another in Tamriel. Where you end up is one of the three different bases of where your race is supposed to start at, and you work your way through the story. As you work your way through the story, you actually go back to I'm trying to think of what it's called again. Map. You go back to Cold Harbor, which is the Oblivion world of Molag Bal, and you save the Nord woman. I'm trying to think of her name and it escapes me, but you go back and save her, and then with her and the prophet, you go back and you get in contact with this one mage who used to be a turncoat, but is equally not as happy about the current situation, so he decides to help your group. And with his help, you find the last party member of their group that didn't completely turn into a asshole, which is the necromancer who's working for Molag Bal. And so one by one you unlock all these people, but as you're doing it, by the time you're getting to about the last guy you're going to save, they finally break the secret about the prophet. And the prophet is not just some unknown prophet guy. He's literally a imperial who went off to find the Amulet of Kings so that he could become emperor, and they tried to use the Amulet of Kings so he would become a dragonborn and become a full-fledged emperor and trying to protect the realms of Tamriel away from the Oblivion. The reverse happened because the guy who was casting the spell was the necromancer, and he was going to use everything to his advantage and fucked up everything and literally ripped open a doorway into Oblivion, which is why everything in the universe has an issue with Oblivion, because they're constantly trying to keep the gates closed now. So this is like a setup for everything that happens in the universe, which explains why this is technically the beginning of the storyline. Long story short, you get all these heroes together. You also have to decide which one of these other four people has to be sacrificed to the Amulet of Kings in order to give you enough power to actually attack Molag Bal. But at the same time, they're also sent on a side mission where you have to convince the three other armies of Tamriel to send at least the Mages Guild and the Warriors Guild off into Oblivion, into Cold Harbor, in order to fight Molag Bal's armies and put things to a standstill. Finally accomplishing all of this and literally saving the Warriors Guild, the Mages Guild, and several other people who are, one reason or another, sent to Cold Harbor, you finally put a standstill to Molag Bal's army. You kill his daughter and his second in command, and then you are sent back to Emperor, and you go with them for one last time into Cold Harbor. They used the Amulet Kings on you, and they decided to sacrifice somebody. I decided to sacrifice the Emperor because this is technically his fault. That was my choice. So he sacrifices himself willingly to the amulet, and kings, they use a special incantation which gives me doesn't make me a full-on god, but gives me deity-like powers and gives you this flashy gold armor, which just looked amazing. Along with these powers, you are nigh on invincible. Your single sword stroke could kill most enemies. And you are also given the ability to do long jumps. You can melt through like 10-foot deep stone doors like they were nothing, like you were going out of a lightsaber, but a lightsaber the size of you. You literally just melt through the doors and keep going. You could actually summon up Earth to make land bridges so you could cross areas. And you literally blast Molag Ball's face off and then do a one-on-one battle with him more at your size. At the very end, he manages to smash you and break your powers, which, by the way, according to the amulet, is granted to you by a dragon god. But at the last moment, you pretty much raise up your hand as if to call to the gods for one last little bit of help, and you suddenly get I got a giant-ass great sword of glowing light and cleave Molag Ball in half.
Jeez.
So now this goes into the Morrowind stuff. You remember that goddess that was helping us with Vivek and everything?
Mm-hmm.
She's part of this. She's actually been in secret helping you and the others to take down Molag Ball because she hates his ass.
Oh, the other god?
Yeah, this other Daedric goddess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Daedric goddess.
Technically, they're all called princes, Daedric princes, but
Mm-hmm.
whether or not they usually prefer male or female is up to them.
Yeah.
And because she hates Molag Ball, she's actually been in secret helping you.
Meridia,
And
right?
I'm trying.
Meridia? Is that the name of the
I think so.
Daedric? Because like Vixie's listing some of the names here. It's Lyris is the Nord who helps you, Sai Sahan,
Lyris,
and
yep.
then Abner Tharn.
Abnatharn is the mage, and Sai
Akatosh.
Sahan is the last guy we saved, and he's essentially a like a combination monk and spell sword, essentially. I think is what he's supposed to be. And then
Akatosh
Lyris,
is the
who is
Drake
apparently
god.
supposed to be part Titan and part Nord, which is
Oh.
why she's so freaking huge.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, after also defeating the Necromancer, you get to have the whole fight with Molag Ball almost on his level, and it's absolutely epic and amazing. And then you get one last little tidbits. Also, what's his name? The Soul Shriven, voiced by John Cleese. I'm trying to think of his name. Cadwell.
Cadwell.
Cadwell is the most amazing and lovable character in the entire fucking story. He has a mount, by the way.
Wow, really?
You wanna know what his mount is?
Yeah.
Have you seen those little lizard-like reptilian chicken things?
Yeah?
That's his mount.
I've seen someone writing that, by the way.
That's his mount. And he literally says at one point to you, "Oh, I just found my trusty steed. He leads me to all you people. He's so good at getting around these parts." Cadwell is fucking amazing. Just the most entertaining character in every way possible. The most likable guy. He's slightly crazy, but at the same time, he's got a real good like moral compass to him.
Okay.
He helps you out so often. Just absolutely amazing guy. But at the very end, after everything's done, he admits that he's gonna help this Daedric prince now, the one that's been helping you.
Mm-hmm.
So he's now officially got goddess that he's worshiping. After all this, and then also at the very end, they allow you to restart at the very beginning of the storyline in a different area. And if you do all three areas, you get to have Cadwell's helmet, which is essentially a giant brazier on top of your head. An upside down brazier on your head.
That's great. I always thought it was a pot on his head.
It's like a small brazier or like a food pot or something. It's hard to tell what it is originally. But yeah, he's just got
Vixie
this
apparently
weird
liked
dinky thing
Sir
on his head.
Cadwell.
Oh, Sir Cadwell is the most amazing character of all of them. The other main people in the main story I could give or take. To be honest, there are parts of the storyline where they're written really stupid and really hokey to the point that it almost made me cringe. Actually, no, I think it did make me cringe. It made me almost want to quit because I was cringing so hard about how bad they were written. And even Vixie was getting frustrated with it too, but we stuck with it just because the ending is worth it. Because finding another bit of dialogue from Cadwell is worth it. Cadwell actually joins you in some of these battles, by the way.
Sweet.
Cadwell is a damn good NPC. Worth charge of the admission just for Cadwell. I wish there was more Cadwell. Hey Bethesda, if you're making another game, make sure to add more Cadwell.
Jeez. Like, what else did you like? Did you like the mounts? Like, the writing in this game?
The writing in this game's okay. I like that they kept the system kind of on its own and made it really simple. You just keep charging money like every day and slowly boost whatever stat you want to focus on. I've just been focusing on writing speed. And there's been a noticeable improvement over time, so yeah, I'm happy with that. You mentioned you wanted to hear what I experienced in the Dark Brotherhood and the Thieves Guild.
Yeah.
So, Dark Brotherhood, one of the good things about the Dark Brotherhood is even if you're not sticking around as a paid player and you just do like a couple missions just to get Dark Brotherhood started, you are given the assassination ability. Which essentially means that if you walk up behind a humanoid that's not guard and you're sneaking and they didn't notice you, you can actually push X and instantly assassinate any enemy. Again, as long as it's a humanoid character, you can walk up behind them and just watch as you slit their throat, stab them in the gut, throw this supernatural knife at them, and watch them just splatter all over the place and fall over dead.
Jeez.
Just, I love the ability to assassinate people, but my number one irk, and this goes for both of those storylines, is that the sneaking in this game is broken horseshit. Let me put it to you this way.
I didn't have too much of a problem with it, but continue.
Well, that's because you kept things kind of simple, whereas I want to advance and get better and be able to actually hide properly. But the thing is with this game is that, let me put it to you this way. So there's this game called Thief, right? It's been a franchise that's been technically around on and off since like the 90s. What Oblivion and Skyrim have done, as far as I'm aware, is they basically took the thief mentality of how to sneak, which is if you're in the deep dark shadows, no one will see you ever.
Okay.
And shadows and actually add into your ability to hide. So even if you're like just sitting there with a bow and arrow, you can slowly plunk at somebody for however long it takes for a bow and arrow to be useful. Until these guys fall over, because let's face it, at least in Oblivion, bow and arrows just sucks. It's useless. I think they've fixed it a little bit in Skyrim, and I think they made it much more useful in this game.
Yeah, I like using the bow and arrow in this over even using the staffs at some point.
So yeah, they've obviously improved how the bow and arrow combat works, but back in the day, whoo boy.
I saw a mini mammoth in the room. Mini mammoth.
But yeah, essentially, the hiding abilities in this game are horseshit because people can literally just turn around slightly and instantly see you. I've literally had people see me through walls in this game. That's how bullshit the hiding and stealth in this game is. Whereas in say Oblivion or in Skyrim, as long as you're in a really dark room, they could be almost on top of you and they still won't notice you. You'd have to like brush up against them before they notice you. One of the joke animations I've seen like years ago was a guy gets shot literally right between the eye and the eyelid, and there's an arrow sticking out of his face. What? Who goes there? What happened? Where did that come from? And you just see the eyes shrink in the middle of the screen. Oh, it must have been just a rat or something. Turns back around. You see just Dovahkiin in the corner behind some stalactites. And you just hear plunk and another scream of, ah, shit! That's how stealth is supposed to work. That's actual stealth. This, whatever this is for Elder Scrolls Online, is nothing nearly as good. It's really, really annoying, and in frequent times is really bugged. Because there's also several times where I've snuck up behind someone perfectly, and just as I'm pushing the X button, they suddenly just turn around and break my ability to actually assassinate them, which is
Ooh.
garbage too.
Jeez.
So the stealth in this game has a ton of issues, which to me, outside of maybe getting the Dark Brotherhoods to help you with the assassination attempts to help move some parts of the story faster, is not worth it. Otherwise, it's not worth it unless you just want that ability to help speed things along.
I didn't find it too bad, but that is, I believe, Khajiit and Argonians get a plus to stealth. In fact, yes, racial Khajiit skills, you get the cut purse. Increases your experience gain with medium armor. Increases your chance to successfully pickpocket by 5%. You also get health recovery and stamina recovery for nimble. And then you've also got stealthy, which reduces your detection radius in stealth by 1 meter, increases your damage done while in stealth by 3%. And of course,
see,
you can
I have
always
to wait until I'm
upgrade
in
that.
one of the Brotherhoods or something in order to get those kind of things.
And then you also have Carnage, which increases your weapon critical, so. But yeah, that's part of that, and then I don't know if there's anything else here. There's Ledger Domain, of course, that allows you to do lock picking and stuff like that a little bit more easily. Improved hiding, which also increases your sneak abilities. And then I don't think there's anything in the fighters guilds or anything like that, or mages
Not for
guild.
stealth-related stuff, no.
You can do
Fighters
convincing,
Guild, the most important things in
persuasive.
Fighters Guild and Mages Guild is the ability to talk to people a certain way,
Yeah, persuasive.
which will make the conversations a little bit easier, but it doesn't always work.
Yeah. So, and I do like the fact that you can experiment. You can equip like two-handed weapons, one-hand and shield, dual-wield bow, destruction, restoration. They all have their own little skill trees, and depending on how often you use them, they level up, just like with the Elder Scrolls games. Same thing with armor. The way to level up your armor is to equip at least one piece of each type of armor. So
and
you
just
have
get
like
wailed on.
well, you get a light armor belt, you get a heavy armor cuirass, and maybe medium armor gloves or something, and you get wailed on, and then you get or hit on, and it levels up your armor, basically. Same thing with like vanilla WoW and EverQuest as well. At least my experience with EverQuest 2. Class, animal companions. You also get green balance, or I could have gone with green balance. I kind of do want to experiment with these eventually and just try them all out.
Well, I just played the Templar for pretty much all my characters, and that includes my solo play. The Templar has the big bonuses for like a character class because you can do not only just self heals, but you can do group heals. And group heals are important not even just for parties, but they also help NPCs to restore themselves faster. So if the NPC is suddenly out of the battle and they're taking a knee and they need a few moments, you can actually cast a few heal spells near them and they'll actually get back up and start fighting again.
Okay.
So the Templar has been pretty good for me. They start you off automatically with a two-handed sword and heavy armor, and I'm like, I'm pretty much a paladin. Let's go.
Yeah, another thing that they bring back in this game that I really like is the books that you can sit and read. And each section of the world has its own lore books that you can find. You just walk up to a bookshelf, click on it, and some books will give you a stat boost. For example, if you if there are books on enchanting, it'll give you it'll automatically increase your enchanting by a certain amount and stuff. So I really like that. And reading all these books, it does kind of, well, it can get a little confusing. You have to kind of keep in mind where you're at, you know, in the world and what would be going on at that point in history. It still made it kind of really interesting, and after sitting down and reading a few of them, I felt kind of satisfied. You know.
Yeah, but you also like I think one of the things you ran into too is that you have to be careful like what kind of point of view you're looking at things from
Mm-hmm.
because they could add in a little bit of a light lie.
Mm-hmm.
Like the
Oh
whole
yeah.
thing about the moonlit over Vivek City is
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, it's held up there by the faith of the people.
Oh yeah,
No,
that's
it's
true.
literally Vivek holding it up because as soon as he's almost dying, that thing almost falls on everybody.
Well, and there's another short story you read about this guy who, this disgraced general, who basically, what he did was he was trying to protect his own troops because he thought it was a battle that would never be won. Ran away, saw a village, and the villagers were just so ungrateful to them and just so mean-spirited, his troops just had to slaughter all of the villagers and take all their stuff because he couldn't let his troops starve to death. So, you know, it was obviously written from this guy's point of view. And this guy was basically just a coward. He fled the battlefield, went to some small village, ransacked the village, and then basically at the end of the story, he's complaining about how this assassin has been sent after him to to basically kill him for desertion. So I thought that
prick,
was.
and a lime prick at that.
But the whole thing is that it's written from his point of view, which made it
Mhm.
incredibly interesting. So, and a lot of these missions in here do the same thing, where it's written from one point of view. For example, the Ashlander, that we were, it was her brother who had stolen a staff, and spoilers, stolen
More
a staff
spoilers.
that was causing trouble. I'll try not to go any further than that. And towards the end of the Vivek quest line, spoilers again, you rescue Vivek if you're successful. And he gives presents to everybody. Like he gives us a tattoo and I think we get a weapon too or something, or some piece of armor.
I got a chess piece.
Chest piece. And anyone who's loyal to him, he gives a present to because the Ashlanders worship this other Daedra. This Daedra, who had a favored champion called the
Up and coming supposed avenging champion called the Nerevarine.
Yeah. He was, the original, Nerevarine was, I think his name was Nerever, and he, teamed up with Vivek and everything, and then Vivek and the, other two of the tribunal godlike beings, turned around, killed Nerever, and upset this
threatened
Daedric
revenge.
prince, yeah. And the Daedric prince vowed revenge upon them, and then every few generations, someone steps up and believes that they're the chosen one. They're the Nerevarine, and they're going to get revenge on Vivek and the tribunal, and these living gods and these stupid these Ashlanders will rise to power again, and these stupid people who follow the tribunal will be properly punished and everything. So.
Hey, want to know something special? Want to know something special and interesting, Aaron?
Well, at the end, can I finish quick?
Yep.
At the end, Vivek does not give the Ashlander who helped you, and you would have probably failed if she hadn't helped you. He refuses to give her a gift. Like, I don't even know if he acknowledges her presence there.
No, I don't think he acknowledges her at all.
Yeah, so the rift between the two people is still very strong, and that tension, that drama, really kind of resonates throughout the whole story, throughout even the zone and stuff. I thought that was really cool and really well done. So yeah, what were you saying?
So you want to know something really special about one of the sequel games?
What?
So Morrowind, Elder Scrolls 3, you are the Nerevarine.
Spoiler for Morrowind, I guess, although it's been out for like forever.
It's been out forever, and you actually get hints of that you are possibly the Nerevarine very early in the game. I'm like only 2 or 3 hours into it.
Yeah, I've missed.
And they're
most
like,
of your
we
streams,
need you to know your history and why you're so tied to this island, even though you just came here. It's like, really? because I've already played the prequel to this storyline, and I picked a dark elf because I'm like, I've been told that technically a dark elf is the race you should be, because technically that's what the Nerevarine is going to be.
Okay.
So yeah, so essentially what I've gotten in my head is that my ancestor of my online character is the Nerevarine.
Okay.
I have been chosen by the Daedric princes. My bloodline will be the ones that turn the tide.
Sweet. Alright, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Well, we've been covering mostly the plot stuff, and we've gotten a little bit of technicals with stealth. I want to go to some more little technicals. Like, right now, I'm, like, barely running this game in medium, and god does my system fucking chug.
Yeah, I had to turn mine down as well. I'm not sure what I'm at. I can check to see here.
But it's very obvious that despite how nice this looks, I've seen nicer looking games that don't chug nearly as hard.
It's not very well optimized, and this is available
the
on
optimization.
consoles.
Bethesda, what are you doing for optimization? Because even your single player games are better than this.
Yeah.
Also, I would say that if they need to take cues from anybody, take cues from like Funcom with how good I'm trying to think of the name of it now. Secret World Legends looks. Because Secret World Legends is at least on level with this game, if not better, and it runs so much smoother. And
Yeah.
the fact that I actually literally have a person over here that still has loading textures that I haven't loaded, despite me looking at them for like the last 5 minutes, that's a sign of a problem here, Bethesda. Well, actually, we say Bethesda. Technically, it's ZeniMax that owns Bethesda, and ZeniMax Online is the ones that made this game. So it's technically ZeniMax Online. You really need to... Okay, the textures just finally popped in for that person. Jesus.
Yeah, optimizing, and like I said, this game is available on consoles. And that
They must have tweaked on the graphics a lot, or they just know how to do systems better, and they're just garbage at PC.
Could be.
Whoever, I assume ZeniMax Online who made this.
Yeah, I've actually got a mixture of high and medium and low res stuff going, so it's kind of worked for me.
It's a hodgepodge hot mess.
Yeah.
Like I had to completely turn off shadows. I had to turn down textures to about medium. And I think also a couple other things are medium, but yeah, it's just, it should not be this hard to make this game run. It's a beautiful game, don't get me wrong, but it could be better if you'd actually properly optimize things.
So,
And I can totally understand why why Age of Conan chugs is because they still haven't optimized everything, and it's still a game in development. And also because it's essentially Minecraft, but with real graphics, so it's gotta load all this heavy shit. So I can understand spikes. But there's no excuses for a game like this, which is already pre-built and doesn't have make your own stuff unless you're loading somebody's bedroom, in which case you just take a little bit longer on the load screen if it's a big room.
yeah, I mean, I still like some of the textures and stuff that I'm seeing, although... I don't know.
Like the fireplace in front of us, this fireplace looks gorgeous.
Enjoy our Christmas fireplace.
But like there's this person like behind me to my right, and her textures just won't pop in at all. Certain
Yeah.
camera angles, it looks like she's looking better, but then all of a sudden, as soon as I turn my camera around to look at her proper, it just, all of a sudden just backs down to ugly. Yep,
That
it
could
just
also
popped back
be
down
our
to
own
ugly.
settings, so...
Well, it should. Well, again, the point is that the graphics settings shouldn't be this bad and this hard to try and make look good.
I do like the interactivity with a lot of this. Like, if you enter, like, the manor house here in Volko Hallgard, you can loot a lot of stuff. You'd be stealing, and you have to, like, watch to make sure you're not being seen. But there's a lot of, like, you can go
There's
into,
a lot
like...
of sneaking around and grabbing stuff you can do in a lot of places.
So stealing is one of my favorite things. I've walked into shops and stolen entire... like all kinds of stuff, entire sets of armor, like
And I'm
like
sure
20 weapons off of their tables, and all while the NPCs' backs are turned.
Yeah,
So
and that's one of the things that I think killed it for one of our friends, Sarah, is that if she's gonna play goody two shoes, she wants to full on throughout the game play a goody two shoes.
yeah.
And when stealthing and stealing stuff can be a easy, quick way to get things done, she turns her nose up at it. But it's like, well, it's
Well,
that, or you take the really, really, really long path.
we
Nah,
also got
bye.
her. We also got her arrested because we trespassed in Saint
She let
Denis.
herself get arrested. There's a button on the bottom that said "run away," and she didn't run away.
Yeah, there's a guardhouse in Saint Denis, in like one of the starter little tiny villages that you can enter when you first enter the Vardenfell area, and we broke into there. We knew we were trespassing. We were sneaking around. We were making sure we were sneaking. We were stealing all kinds of cool stuff, and I think
Then all of a sudden, the guard showed up.
Yeah, Matt popped up and he's like, oh god, the guard is coming, run, run. And so we run out the door as fast as we can. And
Only to bump into another guard.
Well, no, I got out just fine. I didn't have a bounty or anything. But like I don't know, maybe she took a while to load, or maybe she couldn't click on the door properly. And or maybe the guard caught her and she just didn't realize it. Even though there's that big whole iron snapping thing around you. So, I don't know. But yeah, Sarah was not enthused with the fact that we would just run around stealing all the time. Which, I don't know. I'm okay with it as long as I'm able to not get caught. I think I got caught once. I got caught a few times, but I got caught by a guard like, I don't know, once, and then I escaped successfully, so I waited for my bounty to drop down. My threat, I should say.
Mm-hmm. At least I'll also give them credit that at least the bounty stuff goes down in real time.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you log out and just come back in like 20, 30 minutes, you should be fine.
Yeah. So what else? We're not really big PvPers. What about the delves and the dungeons?
We're not big PvPers, so that would never enter into it for us ever. So, delves are fun. Delves are fun. You can do them solo. You can do them in groups.
Mm-hmm.
I hate dungeons because it's essentially a delve, but they force you to group.
Yeah.
Unless you're lucky to find a dungeon where at least one or two more people are also trying to push through the dungeon, you are screwed as soon as you walk in.
Yeah, it can be.
If no one else is there, you might as well just turn right back the fuck around.
Well, we're so disorganized too. It's like Vixie said. Our healer
Oh,
was
and
Barry.
especially if it's just two of us and Barry's not pulling his weight, we're dead. Yeah.
And we're like wandering off in different directions.
No, we need at least a party of 4 people if we're gonna have
that's
Barry,
why
or better
I
yet,
want-
4 of us and replace Barry.
That's why I want to jump on Tuesdays again, so that Randy can join us, so we can at least have a party of 4, and we could have a voice of reason.
Well, you can have a voice of reason all you want. You can't shout enough reason at Barry to make him listen. Let's just face facts.
Oh, man.
We know Barry, and Barry knows him. Barry will still just do what Barry wants.
Yeah, but Randy would probably be sure to keep us alive, either through tanking or being a decent healer, or DPS. He'd probably be DPS at least.
Because we already got a healer, and I do the healing as best as I can. I do a freaking area heal.
I might just be a healer next time. We'll see. So, yeah. I enjoyed the dungeon we went to, even though I died like 4 times. But I like the delves better. I think they're smaller and a little bit easier to handle, and they're fun to go through solo. I'm trying to see what else. I like also the major cities. There's a lot of fun. Like I said, you can run around, read lore books. You can listen to NPC chatter. You can even attempt to break into people's houses and stuff. So, just like with the single-player games, you can break into their houses and rummage through all their stuff and whatnot. I've not been brave enough to do that.
I've never really
yet,
delved into
so-
other people's houses. Most of the houses I've seen have usually just been locked doors anyways, so it's like, pfft, whatever.
Yeah. You just lock pick the doors and go in. But yeah.
Oh, I never used some of my stat points. Here, let's fix that. Boom,
I know.
boom.
I think I've got a stat point or two sitting around. I've got 4. Wow. I'll probably respect this character anyway. As much as I like bow and arrow, there is no decent blocking, unlike with some of the other weapons you can do. So, it's just almost strictly DPS, so your best bet is to kite, like, a couple of monsters at a time and kill them. And definitely beware of Frost of the River Trolls. Those are tough puppies to crack if you're kind of a squishy character who's not willing.
I still haven't reached level 3 of Dark Brotherhood. Still haven't reached level 3 of Thieves Guild. And I think you have to do mostly either side stuff or main quests for those guilds in order to unlock more stuff quickly.
Okay, and you also, for getting into that DLC, you got it from Humble Bundle?
I got a temporary unlock from Humble Bundle, which gave me about 15 days, as well as a few other side permanent things. But yeah, from my experience, it's like, it could be interesting, but the stealth mechanic in this game is, by my opinion, so broken compared to any of the other games in the franchise that I'd just rather not. Also, I would say that Morrowind also has a problem with stealth mechanics. I don't know how you're supposed to know whether or not it's even working. That's how old that game is. It doesn't tell you very well if you're actually sneaking.
I couldn't even tell if you were stealing anything in that game. Until you finally
Yeah,
actually stole something.
they don't even hint to you that you're technically stealing something until you steal it, and all of a sudden, like, the entire bar is racing down to beat your ass.
I saw that.
Yes, you were there for the first episode.
I need to... When are you streaming that again?
I'll be streaming again tonight, sometime between 6 and 9, I assume.
Alright, sweet. I'll probably jump in for that. Or something. We'll see.
I've been a few stories down the road, by the way. I recently just picked up a puzzle box for one of the story quests. Instantly, mine and Vixie's reactions were, "Oh God, we're gonna summon the Hellraiser. Where's Pinhead?"
It's Hellraiser, no!
Well, I picked it up and I looked at it. It's just like, yeah, that's the Hellraiser puzzle box. Well, congratulations on this guy. You're gonna have your soul torn apart. Bye.
Well, if I'm not on a call or something like that, I'll try to catch it, so... Awesome. Be something interesting to tune in for. Alright, I can't think of anything else to say for this. Oh, food. Food is actually pretty useful in this game.
Food has been usually useful for most games. They
You know.
give you some sort of increase of one kind or another, depending upon the game.
So I usually try to, you know, my downfall is accidentally eating stuff that gives me magic or stamina instead of eating stuff that, you know, gives me more health, which is what I really need. That type of dealing. So, and Matt's in his assassin's gear or Dark
I'm
Brotherhood.
sneaking. Dark
Vixie's
Brotherhood,
like,
yeah.
Cinnabites.
Cinnabites, yay!
See, I see that word and I'm thinking of Cinnabon. Like little mini...
Oh, also, I forgot to mention this. Look at this sword, by the way.
That is a huge ass sword.
Pull this out again.
Yes, it is very flamey too.
I got this sword at the end of the storyline where we're saving people in Cold Harbor and stopping Moloch Ball's armies. Literally, the oldest elf in the universe, because he was sealed away in Cold Harbor, handed me his sword at the end and said, "I'm dying. Here's this. Hopefully it helps." I'm just like, this thing is huge.
That's huge. Oh my gosh, Rand would love that. That would be great for Thelona.
And it's a
really
blue
wish he
sword,
could've
by the
joined
way.
us.
Literally, he just handed me a blue sword.
Jeez. Here, have this for being here.
Have this for being here and being one of the more competent people here.
Sweet.
That's one thing I like too. Is even the most annoying of characters at least admit that you're a really useful person and you know how to hack your way through anything.
They have
Everyone in the Elder Scrolls Online officially resignates you as you are killing everything badass. Please help us.
Jeez. Swift in the cups. Alright, well,
But yes, this sword is awesome.
Gosh, I can't think of anything else. We've talked a little bit about the graphics. The sound is as usual. It's kind of nice that they have background music and stuff going on.
It's nice background music.
Vixie's
The
like the
memorable
only
sounds of the
competent person.
franchise are there. What was that about Vixie?
Vixie said they act like you're the only competent person there.
Yes, because you are. Even if you screw up, you're still the most competent person in the room. Hi, I'm here. You finally want something done now? Because I need to go do it, I'm willing to bet. Yep, I need to go do something again. Fine, where do I need to kill somebody?
Jeez.
At least they don't bullshit you.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I would be interested in returning to this game. I'm just a little burnt out on it now, and I take it, Matt, you're pretty burnt out on it, having also done a solo team.
I've finished the main story. All of the storylines have been threaded together, and as far as I'm concerned, there's not really much to do unless I just grind smithing.
Like side missions?
I
What
could
about
technically do
missions
some
in other
missions if I
parts
really
of the
wanted to, but here's
grind stuff?
actually no, this is one critique I also wanted to make. So to the developers of this game, I love the fact that you made this game so that you can easily walk through the storyline if you focused on it. Can't hate you for that. That's actually really awesome, because when it comes to some games, I really hate grinding and I'd rather just work through the story. Elder Scrolls Online, totally for you on that. But where it irks me is that you can't level up, get better armor, and then immediately walk back into the previous areas and go, "Hi, I'm a badass." Nope, people are still going to try and rip you to shreds.
Jeez.
So you can't even properly level up so you can take a dungeon on your own. That's my
because of
number
the
one gripe.
enemy
Is that
scaling,
because
isn't it?
the way that they implemented the leveling system in this game is really kind of just making you shit a brick.
Okay.
Because everything is at your level no matter where you are, which means that if you walk into a dungeon solo, no matter what dungeon it is, even if it's a low area beginning area dungeon, it's still gonna kick your ass.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Which really sucks. I'd rather be able to actually have a normal level up system like the rest of the Elder Scrolls games, and then I could come back and, like, say 10 or 20 levels later and maybe be able to rock a dungeon on my own. That's like one of the big things I would really actually fix. If you want to keep the main storyline scaled so that you can walk through the storylines and maybe the open world like that, perfectly fine with that. But some of these dungeons need to be kind of look at where you are in the game and maybe underscale things for you a bit. Because otherwise it's really too difficult and you kind of just keep people from being able to play it. And it's kind of a drag. My number one critique on this, that's outside of course, the graphics engine is chugging way too hard.
Well, and keep in mind that's kind of going to be a thing for WoW too, is what they're working on, some kind of scaling system. It's one that Guild Wars 2
Yeah, and I
uses.
kind of wonder how that scaling system works, because if it's your technically your character level scales down for the area you're in, but your gear is still actually really effective, I'm fine with that. But the gear doesn't seem to affect too much in this game, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I noticed that. Like, I'll equip, like, you know,
You notice like
weapons
little
work pretty
tiny,
well,
little tiny bits of, okay, I'm getting a little bit better, but it's never like so much as I got this brand new story only weapon and I'm now just super fucking uber and everything dies. No, never happens, never will.
Yeah. And
It
like,
really kind of works against the player mentality, to be
it's
honest.
like with WoW, where it kind of feels like whenever you get like a new weapon that's like from the storyline or even like from decent dungeon loot, and that it obviously is going to work a lot better than anything you get from.
And you
Scythe.
feel like you're cutting through all your early stuff like a hot knife through butter. And that feels great. That's what is expected, and the ESO really works against that a lot. That's my number one critique, is that I like some of it, especially with the storyline, but I don't like it when it affects everything else I want to try and do.
Okay.
Just food for thought. Like, if you're going to make it so that the levels don't mean anything, then you really need to make it so the equipment means something.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think
That was
that's
the last thing I
about
thought
it
of.
for me too. Like I said, I've kind of run out of stuff to say about the game. I haven't really played too many of the other classes or races. I have played like in the open beta. I played like a Dragon Knight. I started an Orc Nightblade, but I didn't really get too far with her. I think she's still like level 4 or something like that. So I don't know. And I wanted to play against character or against type because, you know, Nightblade is the assassin's class, so you'd expect a Khajiit or an Argonian to take it, but I'm doing it with an Orc, so I don't know. I might go try
Templar
to
seems to
do
work with
dual
everybody no
her.
matter what. Again, it's technically a paladin class, so as long as you don't suck at magic, you should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that's it for us, so I'm going to take us off to the information here. Our images. So, yep, if you want to, you can, of course, find me on Twitch. You can also find me on YouTube at LoungeLeets or at my other YouTube channel, which has an extremely long and complicated name to it. There's also a Facebook group for LoungeLeets, and I've actually boosted the post for this live stream, so, and I got 1 like, I think, for $14 for 2 days, so, I don't know, we'll see. There's also a Steam community group, which will, send out announcements whenever we're streaming, like, probably whenever we're streaming a LoungeLeets episode, or I'm going to start maybe posting my own live streams to that too. And if you want to, Matt, you can post your live streams to that too.
Post live streams to what now?
To the LoungeLeets Steam community group.
Oh, the Steam community group. Okay,
Yeah,
I don't really use Steam community groups.
Well, you can set up events and announce that you're live streaming. And
yeah, but your community group needs to actually have people in it, though.
There is. There's like 20 people in our group.
I think we got like maybe a couple of friends. I'm not sure how many are in yours.
Oh,
and how many of them are people
yeah.
we already know.
Well, I'm saying you can post it to the LoungeLeets group too. I mean,
Yeah.
I think you're an admin or a mod there too, so you should be able to.
Not sure.
And
I have to look.
Special thank you to Luke Schwab for the music, tonight's opening music. If you enjoy LoungeLeets and our other live streams, you can join us, or you can contribute by donating to Patreon or making a one-time or regular payments to Streamlabs. Matt also has a Patreon and Streamlabs. So.
And I'm also now got a subscribe button on my Twitch.
Oh, sweet! That's awesome. That's because you stream a lot more often.
I was slowly working on it day after day for about a week, and it finally went through.
Yep, I should be getting mine soon. I'm not sure. Maybe
Apparently,
I already
Vixie
have
noticed
one.
it the other day, so.
Okay. Well, if I have one, Vixie, let me know. I haven't seen one yet, but according to the Twitch achievements, I'm slowly getting up there, getting to it. So. Alright. So thanks for joining us, and that's going to be ESO, for now anyway. Matt and I were thinking of doing Echo of Soul next for our next MMORPG, regular MMORPG that isn't Lotro, because we're having a lot of fun with Lotro and we don't want to give it up.
Yeah, we don't want to give up Lotro yet. Yeah. Echo Soul sounds like it would be interesting, but we've also heard mixed reviews on it, so we'll at least test it out and see how it goes.
Yep, and I plan on doing one more episode of Black Desert Monday morning, and then I'm going to try Echo of Soul Monday night. So Matt, if you want to join me on that, it's going to be a Romeo Moon tries, but at the same time...
we could both give it a try.
We could both give it a try, and if we absolutely hate it, we'll just try to find something else for the next week.
There's plenty of options in the ocean, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If we don't really care.
Speaking of which, Gaia Online, back in March, brought back ZOMG, which is their MMORPG. And yes, people are still on Gaia Online.
Despite them trying to milk you so hard for it. Anyways, have a good night, everybody.
Have a good night.